What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fully Vetted Show. I'm your host, Jordan Riley. Today with me is actually a great friend of mine, Ross Mitchell. He's a former machine gun in the Marine Corps, current paramedic, and just all around awesome dude. Dude, Ross, it's good to see you, dude.
It's good to see you too, man. I appreciate you having me.
Love the beard. Everybody's got that post-enlistment beard.
Yep, I had it. Yeah, I had it as soon as I got out. I grew out a beard when I EAS went to Alaska, and that's when I started growing it out. And I was like, man,
I've got the beard of a 17-year-old.
Well, you know what, dude? Don't feel too bad because I'm patchy all over, and also I had no idea how to tame the motherfucker. You had a hair over here, a pube over here. It didn't make much sense whatsoever, dude. It was all over the place.
For everybody watching, Ross and I served together. Ross is one of my best friends. We've known each other for a long time. We've kind of seen the entire spectrum of our time together in the military. The coldest I've ever been, I have a picture with you at the time when we did an operation.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I know
where
exactly
it started snowing and we were not prepared to get wet with the snow walking through high grass. And it was cold, but it was really, really late at night. Give me a quick background for everybody of just the beginnings of what you did in the military, what your MOS was.
I went in 2015 May down at Parris Island, and I graduated from Parris Island. Went to infantry school at Camp Geiger, and then October 2015 I showed up at 2-8.
Yeah,
it's always funny thinking about that.
Showing up at your unit, yeah. So going back to SOI, you had to choose an MOS. At SOI, what happens is if you don't have a specific MOS, you just have an infantry contract. At SOI, usually there's like a split between the jobs you signed up for, or if you're just an open infantry MOS, you get to kind of choose a job. What happened with you and what did you choose?
Well, that was back then. I think it's different now.
Really?
I think now it's longer, and they're trying to make everyone a more completely well-rounded Marine. But when I was there, you got to pick between machine gunner, anti-tank missile men, mortarmen, assaultmen before they got nixed.
And LAR,
I actually didn't get to pick. I remember Staff Sergeant Canty. Sergeant Canty was his name, and Staff Sergeant Williams was there. I don't know if you remember Staff Sergeant Williams, but he was I think he got the Bronze Star recently or a few years ago in Syria. But basically what he said was, what's your GT score?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I was like, this is my GT score. He goes, come on over here. And I got machine gunner. I thought I had a high GT score. I guess I didn't. So I went straight to machine gunner. And you know what? I couldn't have been happy about that because I had a friend who told me not to be an 11. He said he'd already served. He'd already been through. He goes, listen, do not be an 11. He's living out in Utah right now. And he's been a mentor of mine for years. And I'm actually going out to live out there now. He told me to be a 31. And that's what I did. They said, what's your GT score? This. And they were like, cool, get the fuck over here.
I remember at SOI, I remember going to the chow hall and some stuff was popping off. I remember because they only had the news playing at the chow hall. It was like what was the veteran news network, or the military news network? What was that thing called?
I think you're spot on with what it was called.
Armed Forces News Network, AFN.
Yeah.
Right. I remember seeing some stuff happening. We're going to get into something, but at the time, because you were so new and untrained, it was terrifying to watch on the news and think like, dude, I'm going straight from here to war. Knowing the history of a machine gunner is kind of a different feeling because
looking back,
your last major war, when you think about like Vietnam and machine gunners, I know you know better than I do, but wasn't the life expectancy of a machine gunner in Vietnam it was like 30 seconds?
40, I think it was 30 or 45 seconds from when they opened up the burst, because in a machine gunner
from your Vietnam, first burst,
you're a priority at that point because you're in Vietnam. Maneuver was everything.
So as a machine gunner, you're watching the news at SOI as a fresh boot. You don't know what's going on. You don't even know your job fully, and you're thinking like, I've got to go pick up a machine gun and go to war.
At that time, man, and it's crazy thinking back how I thought back then, because I don't think nearly how I thought back then, but I just remember I was at that age, and you were older than me when you went in. So I
Yeah.
mean, when I at that age, around 19 years old, you do feel like you're invincible, and you feel like you look at the guys around you, you're like, no matter what happens, I mean, I'm like, look who I got next to me, dude.
Like I'm bulletproof. Yeah.
I'm good no matter what. And you don't assess risk how how we do today. I assess risk much differently than how I did back then.
Yeah. I've noticed as a father, like when it comes to risk, I'm like, watch what you're doing. Don't jump off that. Like I want my kid to take chances, but at the same time, it's all about risk mitigation and like trying to teach, like, look for this. You're high up. Don't do that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Cool. My wife gets in the vehicle to drive to work today, and I'm thinking all the time, like, I know she doesn't pay attention too much. I know she's gonna see someone.
Don't be on your phone. Don't do this. Look for this
all
guy.
This stuff. Yeah.
When we were both in combined anti-armor team, which is CAT, we've talked about it a bunch with these guys. It's a mix of 52s and 31s, which is the tow gunners and the machine gunners. I was in a 50 cal truck, so I was always around a machine gun. But the one thing I've never really been able to sit down and ask a machine gunner was the SOI Experience, the School of Infantry. You're kind of like indoctrination to machine gunnery.
I haven't thought about this stuff in a minute. You're bringing back a lot of feelings. And there, I realized back.
I'm assuming it's pretty fucked up, honestly.
There's a lot of pride. There's a ton of pride, and the pride goes damn near barbaric. You know what I mean? It's
yeah, you guys it's eating rocks together and
yeah, just down in crayons, banging rocks to make a spark and whatnot. But other than that, I remember I walked over to this formation one time, and there was an MMA fighter in the formation, and I didn't know this at the time. He actually is in Pennsylvania right now, and we became friends after this. I walked over to the formation just to say hi. Hey, what's up, guys? I was flying through the air. I got hip tossed. Yeah, out of nowhere, because you weren't allowed to walk over to other people's formations. You know what I mean? If someone from another platoon walked up to your formation, it was your job to get them the fuck away from your formation.
I remember that at boot camp. It was like, if someone cut in front of your formation, you could beat the shit out of them.
I ended up getting hip tossed, and it was, dude, now with my background in jiu-jitsu now, that was a good hip toss.
He knew how to punch. Like, I remember thinking, wow, this guy's trained, because he snapped it.
Joe, always the commentator.
Like, it was a good hip toss, dude. Like, my feet were over my head, and my head was pointing toward the ground, and I was going down. And then I got back up. Like I said, you feel invincible. I got back up, and I was ready to throw down with him. And I remember his face. There wasn't a shed of doubt in his mind of what he could do to me, man. But it's funny. It was very machine gun centered. We were constantly on the machine guns, disassembling them, reassembling them, going over misfire, immediate action drills, and doing gun drills outside, going over the knowledge, going over machine gun history.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a Sergeant Canny, who I really looked up to, and it's funny because, like, you know me, man. I got in a lot of altercations when I was in the military. Like, there's a lot of people that I rubbed the wrong way, and I hated taking people's shit. I did not like it, and I was kind of arrogant in the first 2 years. So
yeah, but I feel like there's kind of a for a lot of veterans that watch the program, that even the ones, especially the ones that might be infantry, is that there is a level of arrogance that is necessary. Like, it really is. I mean, there has to be. Yeah. You have to be so confident in your abilities to do something that it's worth bragging about.
To bring that intensity every single time.
Yeah, to be a violent individual and be arrogant in your abilities of being that way. And whether it's getting hip tossed, I mean, like, it was probably unnecessary to hip toss you.
It was so unnecessary. It was like,
why not? But why not? Because now everybody knows. Don't come at me because I'll hip toss you. That's just the level that you need to perform at. I think it's interesting though too, because I remember when we were about to graduate SOI, because we were not in the same battalion at SOI, but you
No.
were like, I want to say like 3 weeks before me going through SOI together, because we went to the unit together,
Mhm.
but you were a bit ahead of me. So
Yeah,
you were
I
there
showed
before
up
I was.
October 18th. I
So
remember
I was
that.
there. I was there Thanksgiving. So I was literally
Mhm.
like a month after you.
Yeah, I remember when
And,
you guys came by.
yeah. So I remember being at SOI and about to graduate, and I remember going into the machine gunners barracks because I had some buddies at SOI that were machine gunners. And I remember going into their section of the barracks because everything was cordoned off. Like all the barracks were like, there was like the tow gunners up here, machine gunners were over here, 11s were down there,
I
whatever.
can imagine how
And
this is gonna go.
dude, I mean, I remember seeing cases of beer.
Hey, let me let these
Dexter.
through. Come on, you two. Get on out. Get on out.
But I
I'm
remember,
back.
yeah, don't we? But I remember going down to the machine gunner side of the barracks, and there was cases of beer everywhere, which is like unheard of because we weren't even allowed to have tobacco or energy drinks, let alone booze. But everybody, it was like we were about to graduate. Everyone was getting cool. Like we were allowed to do some things, have some fun. But I remember going down there and guys were wrestling. And one of the machine gun instructors was wrestling one of the machine gun boots. And I remember one of the machine gun instructors being like, close the door, like shut the door. And they were serious. Like they were dead serious. And I mean, whatever, like what happened in all of our rooms happened in our rooms. And it was stuff we don't talk about. But what happened, I remember getting a glimpse of what happened in that room, dude. And like, it was different. It was really different than what happened in all the other rooms. Machine gunners go through a different process than the rest of the infantry.
Yeah, I remember boxing matches happening quite frequently, and whatnot. People have boxing gloves. People wanted to test their brawn against each other, and that happened quite frequently. But in my machine gun class, I will say, we really focused on the machine guns. My sergeant really was just like, we want you guys to, like, I remember he said to me, he said, I will make you better than what you think you can be. And I was just like, fuck yeah. I would love to do that.
You guys
I
have
was
the dirtiest hands in the infantry.
Dude, oh my God. I remember
Dirtiest hands ever.
I actually, headspace and timing. You remember how you had like 3 strikes and you were out?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
3 strikes on something and you were out. I was doing headspace and timing, and the first time I did that, I put that backplate back on and I smacked it down, and I had my nail, my thumb or one of my nails caught in there, and you took the whole fucking thing off, dude. I was bleeding all over the floor. And I'll never forget. Like, it was like, looking back, I was like, dude, this kind of hurts, like it's like I'm like bleeding somewhat decently right now. And by no means anyone am I a tough guy. I do not proclaim to be a tough guy. Believe me, I know I'm not. But I looked at my instructor, and all of a sudden they all just busted out laughing. They just busted out laughing. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting there and they're like, you're going to second attempt. And I was like, fuck, dude. Because I just did everything right. And I went to second attempt and I was so nervous. I fucking failed.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to third attempt. They were like, all right, in 2 days
Just
at the range, you're
ass?
going to go
Like
to
second
third
attempt,
No,
dissing ass?
headspace and timing.
Oh, okay.
One of the easiest things you could fucking do, screwing in your
So
fucking barrel,
explain
going back
headspace
to.
and timing, like if you were talking to like a child real quick, headspace and timing.
So headspace
Because
and timing.
it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, headspace and timing back on the old M2 Maduses, basically what it was that, you would there was a couple phases, and I'll like in layman's terms, you would screw in the barrel, and then you would mess with the timing nut in the back of the receiver. Okay. And basically everything that you did, the timing nut and the barrel and the distance between the bolt and the face of the bolt and the chamber and the barrel, that all mixed into a well-oiled machine if you timed it properly. right? So
Right.
if you did everything
That's what makes a
properly,
machine gun actually sound like a machine gun. You know?
yeah, and if you set it up for optimal timing, you can make that machine gun purr. You can
Oh
set that
yeah.
machine gun up to like
Make
really
music.
ride. Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
man. And you know, with
Yeah.
these new, with the, what they call them, the legacies, I think they are, you know, it's just, you don't see that too often. We had a lot of problems with the new M2s. I remember when we
Yeah,
got them
for people that don't know, the 50 cal machine gun is that the Army came out with a new one because the Army, of course, had problems teaching headspace and timing. And so
Schmucks.
obviously they had to dumb it down for the Army because the Marine Corps had it perfect and knew how to shoot them, but the Army couldn't figure out headspace and timing. So they had to create a variation of the 50 cal to where you didn't have to adjust for headspace and timing, which is how you basically, it was like for people that do like modded trucks, you know, like you can, or people that drive manuals, you know, you want to be able to feel the shift and know when to shift. And the old 50 cal, the machine gunner himself used to be able to actually adjust kind of like the rate of fire. It was almost like instead of going
Yeah.
do 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 do, you could actually like like it was, you were able to but you were able to actually like really figure, you were able to like, you were like, it was like a chef, you know what I mean? Like cooking a medium rare steak. You could flip that thing and know exactly when it was ready to be flipped again.
Yeah,
like
man.
it was machine gunnery is an art. And what the problem was, it kind of took away the art from it by making the M2A1 or M2A1.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the M2A1 is what it was called, because
Is
that
when
was
they
the
kind of
first.
took away the art to being a machine gunner and giving the machine gunner the opportunity to set his own headspace and time. Yeah, I know what you mean.
And you had a really good appreciation for it, because even though you were a 52, you were a machine gunner pretty much. I mean, we cross-trained you, and you were firing the 240 constantly because tow missiles are expensive, you know.
Yeah.
So you were on there like, yeah, you fire one missile. Next thing you know, it's, what do I do? Well, it's hop on the 240.
Well, that's how it was at SOI when they were, like you said, when they were approaching you and they were talking to you about, you know, what specific weapons MOS do you want to get into. I remember the do you remember Sergeant damn. Anyway, he came to me and was like, look,
Was he at SOI or was he at 28?
at SOI at the weapons split when you chose your MOS.
Well, what company were you? I was Delta Company, so we have
Bravo.
different instructors. Yeah, so we were different. Did
Yeah.
you guys ever have to? Were you with Moran?
I was with Moran. I was with
So you had to go
Kim.
touch Delta
I was with,
every now and then.
no. You want to hear a funny story about Go Touch Delta? Do you remember? Were you guys allowed to dip and smoke?
Sometimes if we fucked up, it
Yeah.
got taken away. Yeah.
So you were allowed to dip only when the instructors really wanted to dip in front of you and we're like, all right, guys, like I'm gonna put a dip in so you guys can put a dip in. I remember not sneaking out, but we were on a break because I don't know. I mean, like one thing I'll say for tow gunners is that we would be up until 2, 3 in the morning studying stuff. We stayed up late, just going through all kinds of stuff. And I remember taking a break, walking outside, and I opened a fresh can of dip and I put this tiny, tiny dip in. And I was standing in a place where I knew the instructors never went, dude, ever went. And the instructor came busting out the door and went right to me and was like, Riley. I was like, yes, Sergeant. He was like, what's in your mouth? I said, and I was old, like you said earlier, I was older, dude. So I was like, a dip, Sergeant. He said, what kind of dip you got? And I was like, Copenhagen, Sergeant. And he was like, that doesn't look like a big dip. Why don't you put in a bigger dip? So I opened the can, put in a bigger dip. He's like, oh, that looks like a new can. Why don't you put in a bigger dip? And I was like, okay, put in more. Dude, by the time he was done fucking with me, dude, I had a horseshoe and an upper decker in. I had probably 3/4 of the can in, and he started making me touch Delta. And I was running from Delta and back, Delta and back, Delta and back. Then I was doing the
my
streetlights.
God.
I was doing suicides from the streetlights until the shit was running down it was going down my chest. He's like, all right, you're done. And I was like, yes. And I went to trash it. And he was like, no, I didn't say you could take it out. You're going to keep that in until I say you're done. And I remember going back inside. We went back inside and everybody else was inside. And he said, dipping is secured except for Riley. And I was like, I looked at everybody. I was like, I'm so sorry, y'all. I want y'all to be able to have this fun. But he was like, only Riley can dip. I kept that shit in for like 2-3 hours. And I was looking at Luke. You remember Lucas, Kim, all those guys. I'm looking at them like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And they were like, bro, you're all right, dude. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. I could totally see them being like, dude, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Isn't that crazy though, how creative they were? You know,
dude,
that creativity though, it passed on. We were pretty creative with some of the shit we would do.
It's funny how like people think that like the drill instructors are the ones that have the ability to really haze you, but the school of infantry is a different ball game.
Yeah,
it's like it makes you it brings you to a different place. What I'm curious about is so we went through a lot. I mean, you and I went through a lot together. What brought you to getting out? Why didn't you, first of all, why didn't you reenlist? It's a big question, because for a lot of people, why not reenlist?
Well, you know, we enlisted, we went in during wartime. It was at the back end of the Afghanistan theater. And I wanted to go in to seek combat. That's why I went in initially. And then about 2 years in, 3 years in, we started to see that people were pulling out of Afghanistan. We didn't have many troops over there anymore. And I was in a combat MOS, the combat MOS infantry. And it just wasn't happening. It wasn't happening at this point. And I don't know. I have mixed feelings on the Marine Corps now. I love it and I hate it. I loved my friends. I loved all the experiences that I had, but the institution, man, you saw what they did to, was it Stuart Scheller, Lieutenant Colonel, Stuart Scheller.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing how that works? The man asked for accountability, and the higher ups were just like, we can't have this. We can't have.
We kind of went in at the point where it was almost like we had a job to do, but the bureaucracy was starting to take over. And for a lot of us, we started seeing through the curtains, and you saw the man at the Emerald City behind the curtains, the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, and you realized that he wasn't what he seemed to be. And for a lot of us, it was kind of like almost like a red pill, where you're like, I don't understand why are these guys who are standing up for their Marines not able to train Marines for combat? That was the problem, is that there became like this weird period where you could not train Marines for combat.
It became very garrison.
Go ahead.
Ross, what kind of go back on that story? What actually happened for the laymen that don't know the story about accountability? What happened that really kind of sparked the?
Can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear him. So, when we pulled out of Afghanistan, it was an absolute shit show. We didn't have a plan. We were leaving Americans behind. And not only that, we weren't covering nearly about what was happening on the ground. Nothing about what was happening on that ground. And not only that, I think we lost 13 service members as well in an IED.
First Memorial Day recently that they were remembered.
Yeah. I don't know if it was a VBID or a suicide vest, but we lost 12 dudes. Dudes who were peers of mine and Jordan's. And, it couldn't have been any more botched than that. We had Afghans clinging onto planes. We left millions of dollars worth of equipment behind. Equipment that if, Jordan and I would have lost, we would have been who knows what would have happened in
Well,
litigation.
do you remember how night vision was our bread and butter, and now
Yeah.
they've got it? They've
Yeah,
got
they
all
have
our
bread
night
and
vision.
butter. They have capabilities that far supersede what the civilians over there have. And, you know, luckily in America, we have capabilities to at least somewhat defend ourselves against the tyrannical government, you know, but they don't, not anymore. You know, they have all of our equipment, our munitions, our weapons. So, you know, Stuart Scheller, Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, I think he was battalion commander at Camp Geiger at School of Infantry. I
Yeah,
think, I'm
yeah,
not sure.
I remember that.
But you know, he came out and he pretty much, you know, in the most basic way, asked for accountability. You know, hey, we screwed this up, guys, and I think we owe it to everyone
Yeah.
who's lost their lives over there, and anyone who's ever signed up with the will to want to go fight, and any family who's lost a life over there, to at least pretend that we're able to practice what we preach, which is accountability. And didn't happen. They tried to silence the man. I mean, I paid pretty close attention to it. He had a lot of close people say to him, "Hey, I don't think you should do this." We call it going against the grain, right? I heard that a lot in the military, and he was doing it to like 120%. And they tried to, I don't know if they put him in the brig or not, but they tried
No,
to.
they did. He was in the
Did they
brig
put him
for
in
a
the
long
brig?
time.
Yeah,
Oh
so
yeah.
they fucking put
Yep.
that man in the brig, and he's got almost 20 years. He was about to retire. This man risked a lot.
Lieutenant Colonel. I mean, he was pretty high up as far as the
Yeah.
officer ranks go.
Yeah, he was about to risk a lot, and he knew exactly
Yeah.
what he was risking. And I don't know. I don't know if I could have done what he did. I
No.
don't. I
And
have.
for people watching, a lieutenant colonel is like a battalion commander. So
Yeah.
like our boss, basically, the guy in charge of the 250 some odd Marines, an entire infantry battalion.
Oh my God,
So-
1,000 Marines. He's in charge of 1,000 Marines, so the whole battalion. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's in charge of a
so
lot.
You're talking about somebody who has a lot to risk. Was like, hey, listen, I would like to call for accountability. Yeah.
God forbid, right? You know, and I saw if that would happen after I got out, but even after I got out, I saw that.
Well, it kind
And
of
I was like-
validates your reasoning for, you know, what we were experiencing before that happened was kind of the prerequisite to like, this is why I'm getting out.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is that I don't know if other service members might have seen this in their time in, but you see so much behind the curtain as far as like the operational experience of like how things work. And when you see how decisions are made, when you see how people are making decisions, and you start to see politics involved, as somebody who's a ground force, you're like, and I want no part in any of that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it takes people who were in leadership positions, who had experience, who knew what they were doing, and it kind of forces you out in a sense where you're left with nothing but the inexperienced and the people who are politicians, basically.
Yeah. And you know, it's bringing that up, looking at bigger pictures. I hear that a lot. Look at the bigger picture. I don't have the answers for the bigger pictures. Even the problems we have today, people ask me about bigger pictures. I don't have the answers for that. I'm exhausted trying to find the answers for that. I control what I can control right in front of me. It's being a husband, it's being a paramedic, that's being a good citizen. That's all I can control right now, you know? And at that time, being in the Marine Corps, the bigger picture isn't my fucking job. My job is to look after the people that are next to me. That's it. That's all I cared about. My friends in the Marine Corps, my family. I wasn't close to my family. I'm still not close to my family. My family growing up just wasn't there. You know, wasn't what I felt for the people that I had that I served with. When I had the people in the platoon with us, Jordy, I love them to death. Even the ones that wronged me, you know, or I wronged them. If they called me up right now, I'd help them out, you know, just
Yeah.
because we've done too much together. They've come through too much. They came through too many times for me, and I want to be there for them. And that's kind of the mindset that I had when I went in. I saw throughout the Afghan conflict and Iraq conflict, I saw neighbors that I had, cousins and friends joining up to go overseas. And I remember sitting I was at Slippery Rock University, and I remember sitting in my dorm and watching something called Baghdad ER. And I saw a 20 or 19-year-old kid who was, these physicians were going to work on him, triple amputee, doing surgical interventions on him, transfusing blood, tons of different interventions that they could do. And I thought to myself, I was like, I'm 20, he's 19. I'm 19. What am I doing here? You know, and please, I'm not saying anyone else has to think like that. That's not what I'm saying. This is just how I thought. I thought, what am I doing? This is why I want to go in. I want to earn my right to be here. And I feel like these people are earning their right amongst everybody else. They're putting their fucking lives on the line. And you know what? They're 18 or 19. Yeah, I get it. You're naive. Okay. Regardless, if they're naive, just understand that, you know, they're doing it for what they believe is a good cause. At least 90% of them are. You obviously get that 10% who go in and just like, oh, I just want to be homicidal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't give a shit about that 10%. The other 90% who go in there for the right reasons, that's who I wanted to, that's who I wanted to be around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I cared about the people next to me. And when I got out, I started to notice that the command was not there. The command, even if you chose to like, hey, well, it's not wartime anymore. I'm going to get out. I'm going to try and go pursue a degree. Maybe I'll even come back in as an officer. That came back in my head.
Yeah.
If you were getting out, they wanted nothing to do with you. As a matter of fact, they were out to get you. At least our command was. You know, I remember that. I remember dudes were they had a microscope on them if they weren't reenlisting, and I think only a couple of us reenlisted. You know, the Marine Corps got serious retention, man. They really do, and it's almost like, why?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not because of what your commanders are. Maybe it's not because of what your higher ups are saying. You
Well,
know
yeah,
what I mean?
I think one of the biggest problems for a lot of vets is they get out and they realize, you know, man, that was what I was doing was so awesome. I don't know why I'm not doing it anymore. And if you were able to retain those guys, your level of experience would be astronomical. I mean, you have guys who are sergeants or above who are getting out because they are just ready to move on. And if you could find, if they would just take take a second and figure out what was truly the reason for not retaining those Marines or soldiers or sailors or airmen, if they could just figure out why these guys were not staying in, the retention rate would be a lot lower, or a lot higher, excuse me. The retention rate would be a lot higher because you would be giving them what they wanted, which was the ability to train their subordinates, whether it's Marines, sailors, soldiers, airmen, whatever, and the ability to take what they were doing seriously and not make it about, I mean, I remember when we were at AP Hill, and we had some issues with hazing allegations, and it was just a matter of training people to be warfighters, and making them into something that they were not yet, and trying to get them to realize how serious things were. And it was just like, why are we getting punished by getting people prepared for something that you have never seen, you've never experienced, and we're trying to get them ready for something that we have not yet had to deal with. And it was like getting punished for doing your job. And it makes it hard to want to stick around, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I mean, that makes me think about, you know, the guys recently, those 13 dudes, I think they were on a mute at the time when they responded to the Afghan evac.
They had no idea that they were going to Kabul.
They had no idea. That could have been any one of our
Yep.
of our dudes. And you know what? I don't care. And if any of those dudes are watching right now, I don't care what happened, what any mistake was made in the past. Almost every single dude we had that was under us, and I say under us lightly, they were great dudes. And God, I would have felt horrible, if one of them was involved in, that massive loss of life that occurred during the Afghan evac.
When did you know it was time to get out?
You know what, man? There was a point when I was in the Marine Corps where I lost rank. I got NJP'd, and at that time, I had a great reputation within the battalion, and
I remember.
Quite a few people caught NJPs when they were getting out.
NJP is non-judicial punishment. So it means that like you're not going to go in front of a JAG jury because you didn't commit a war crime, but you did something that the military said was wrong. So instead of there being a judicial hearing, it was a non-judicial punishment, which is like there's already like kind of a set punishment for what you did. So here's what it is.
So if someone is out to get you, there's
Yeah.
probably
A lot of it, and a lot of it really is,
Yeah.
I'm out to get you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
For, yeah.
Yeah. So what happened was I was streaming on Twitch. I had a little, about a year before I got out, I started doing this streaming service because I wanted to, I started feeling the effects of like, hey, I'm about to leave my friends soon. And I kind of tried to put myself in the shoes of other veterans who got out. And I made this stream designated specifically for the veteran demographic. And it was going very well at some point, at a point. And one night I had it was a large stream. I think I had about 30 or 35 viewers in the stream at the time, and they were all veterans. And someone came in and started to really talk trash in the veteran community. And I don't know why it triggered me at the time, but it pissed me off, because I knew there was a lot of veterans in there who were listening to this. But you know what? I learned a good lesson from it. A lot of people are going to piss you off. You can't react to all of them. It taught me a really good lesson. So I had a good bit of veterans in there, and I was listening to this person go on, and it kind of pissed me off to a point where I said something pretty stupid to this person. And basically that little tidbit, was seen by someone, and that someone was in position of power at my battalion. And basically from there, I caught NJP for that. So I lost rank. So I was slated to pick up sergeant February 1st of 2019. And I went in January 28th after boarding for sergeant and for that NJP. And luckily, I had dudes. There was a new command. A new command came in at that time, so no one knew us. But luckily, we had a few old heads there who still knew us. And that guy, I thank him to this day. He went to bat for me on that NJP board. NJP is not a big deal. I mean, I'm sure some people will consider it a big deal, but it's really not. It's kind of like a smack on the hand, keep it in the family.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Depending on the offense, it's kind of like it really is like a smack on the wrist.
Yeah, but I had a guy who went to bat for me and pretty much said, hey, I know this guy, so on and so forth. And I was honest about what happened. And I had a lot of people come up to me too and say, listen, dude, I would have probably said the same thing if I heard what this person was fucking saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, this person was saying some pretty crude things. So caught the NJP, admitted to my wrongs, did my fucking little punishment. And then at that point, I was going to reenlist. I really did. I wanted to reenlist, and I wanted to either pursue EOD. That was like my real goal. I wanted to go EOD. I would
We
say
just did a
MARSOC.
reaction video on Hurt Locker. So they got a little taste of EOD and how crazy that is.
Why would you want to do that?
Yeah, why would you want to do that?
I heard I was always I hate to say it. I like to study and I always liked to read, and I was very academic based. I enjoyed doing that, and I heard EOD from a lot of guys in the company who I consulted with. It's very academic based. And I was like, I can do this. I can think critically, I can problem solve, and I can get
Yeah.
things done very quickly. And that's, a lot of the reasons why I'm a paramedic now. And that's kind of the reason why I wanted to go about it. Plus, it's fucking badass, dude. I saw those
Yeah,
EOD
it's so
guys.
badass.
Those EOD guys overseas, man, dude, they were just blowing. They were blowing the what is it, the UXO, that like the
Yeah.
mortars we'd send over, or the tows that never detonated, or it's something like that. EOD would just go up and just say, I'm gonna blow it up.
If
And
you
then
like
they'd
shooting
do it.
fireworks, EOD is the job for you.
Yeah, and we actually, I think one of the Motor T guys that we knew is in EOD now. One of the
Is he really?
the big jacked Motor T guy. I don't know if you remember him.
I remember him.
Massive dude. But
Yeah.
he's in EOD now. And I had a guy on the first deployment who was EOD, and he said he loved the job, so that's why I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought I'd be good at the job, and that's where I wanted to go. But once that NJP hit, I was like, you know what? There's no point. I'm gonna get
You're
out.
like, yeah, if
Go to
this is how,
college.
if this is how tight it's getting,
Yeah.
why be here?
And I remember a lot of the
So-
higher enlisted, they also said, hey, you're never going to be successful. Like they will always just like, you'll be back. That's something I heard. You'll be back. You won't be
Yeah.
successful in college.
Yeah.
Well, now I got a degree.
Yeah.
Get at me now, motherfucker.
Yeah. So, let's talk about transitioning, right? So you go from this one life, to, I mean, you remembered, it's not like you were so far removed that you don't remember what it was like to be a civilian, but you're a different human being now. You've gone through so many different experiences that have kind of like morphed who you are, that you go to get out. And I think that the one thing we're trying to do is reach to people who either are going to transition or are struggling with transitioning, and kind of give a perspective on like, you're not alone, but at the same time, you can succeed. So let's talk transition. Let's talk about getting out, leaving your buddies, leaving that life. And how did you figure out where to go? Because it's a dark road at the beginning.
It was really confusing. At first it was great. It's like, man, I've got to shave every day.
I'm going to grow a beard.
Yeah, I don't got to clean my fucking room. I don't got to deal with any of the bullshit
Yeah.
from these fucking people who shouldn't be in charge of me. But then you start to really miss your friends. You're just
Yeah.
like, wow. I miss.
I mean,
all my
every day we were together every day, dude. Every single day, all day, and then all
Yeah.
night.
Yeah, it's
Going to
very
the
weird.
house after work, having bonfires, going back to work, doing our
Going
job.
to the
I mean, it was
beach,
like,
fishing,
yeah,
living with one
yeah.
another. I mean, we literally we've come to blows with one another before. It's the closest thing to a family that I had, and I loved it to death. But when
Yeah.
I got out, I had a hard time. I think it took, I'd say, about 2 years for me to like start to accept the fact that time is over now.
Yeah.
It's over. Time to look forward. Time to set new goals. Time to focus on what you have in front of you, which is my wife and my job, and the relationships that I consider close to me. So at first I almost reenlisted. I remember that September of 2019, I was like looking at option 40 contracts for the Army, like Ranger Regiment contracts, or
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I thought about it too. It's like, just transition, go to the Army, go get
Yeah,
another badass job.
I was looking at that, and I'm sure I like you said, a few of us were. I heard from quite a few other people. I keep in touch with a guy right now who's still struggling. He to message me, calls me, and he's actually in EMS, and he's like, dude, I don't really know. I can't find my way right now. Just try shit. Just try things. You know what I mean? Fucking dive head first into different things. You know what I mean? And you know what?
Yeah.
We're lucky enough to have some benefits from the VA, which is nice. It's a very nice little
Yeah.
it's a nice little foundation and a nice little safety net to fall back on. And we have the GI Bill, we can take care of ourselves. So we have
Did you
all
go
the
to school right when you got out?
Immediately. Yeah. So a year before I got out, I got my EMT. And then once I became an EMT, after I got out, I went to paramedic school. Yeah.
But what was it? Was it weird at college, post military, and like being in like that
That's
scene?
interesting. Yeah. 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 That's interesting. I didn't think about that. Yeah. It was weird seeing people fall asleep in class. Like it was fucking cool. You know what I
And you were
mean?
like, wake the fuck up, boot.
Yeah, like I got really pissed off, and I was like, show
Yeah,
this fucking
wake up.
instructor some fucking respect, dude. Like he's here
Yeah,
teaching you, and then I realized, oh wait, no, I'm paying this motherfucker to be here. Maybe I should
Yeah.
sleep in class.
it's
You know
like
what I mean?
you're used to death by PowerPoint, so now all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're like, I'm wide awake, and you're falling
Yeah.
asleep. It's like, wake the fuck up.
Yeah, and it's like I was always at class a half hour early. I was studying before I was
Yeah.
there. I was the last one in class, and so on
Yeah,
and so forth.
people might call you a nerd for that, but it's like, no, that's what I do. That's how you are.
Yeah, and it was weird seeing that, man. Other people,
Yeah.
they ended up, and the people weren't turning in their fucking assignments. People weren't, studying. They were failing
Like
the
you fucked
exams,
up.
failing the exam, and then asking the instructor for a handout. And I'm like,
Yeah. Like there's no
Why?
handouts here.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, well, he told you what to study. Go home and fucking read it. That's all you got to do. It's not hard. Okay. That's all you have to fucking do. I remember sitting there. I'm like, I'm getting paid to do this right now. Why is it so fucking difficult for you? I don't understand. And then about 2 years later, after I became a paramedic, I transitioned to the University of Pittsburgh. It's amazing if you don't, because that was the life I lived before, and now I'm transitioning to civilian life. I'm not saying I'm becoming lazier, but I'm becoming much more laid back. And I'm starting to realize I can take those good things, but I don't have to be so extreme about it, And
Yeah.
another thing I realized
It's a different leadership style. You have to learn
Yeah.
how to, you can't just haze somebody for doing something wrong. You really have to figure out what these people respond to.
Yeah.
It's a weird, like, how hard was it to identify with college students? It's got to be weird, right?
I was actually pretty lucky because the majority of the people I was in class with were all in emergency medical
Did you
services.
say majority?
The majority?
Majority? God, you're so Pennsylvanian.
The large part, the demographic that I was with was emergency medical services, and they see a ton, and
Yeah.
they work very long hours, and they're very underappreciated, and they're
Yeah, it's
told
like
what to
people that
do.
actually see the real world.
Yeah, they see the real world, and they saw they saw way more than I did at the time.
Yeah.
And it humbled me a little bit, because it's like, oh, you're here, you're fucking preaching work ethic and all this stuff. And to them, they're like, oh, I've fucking been here and done that, dude. Just give me the information so I can go back to work. And I felt kind of like a Pogue in a way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was like, man, I'm really.
Explain a Pogue, because I don't want to get in trouble.
All right, so a Pogue is personnel other than grunt, and I have a lot of Pogue friends. So
Me
chill
too.
out,
It's all right.
relax,
cool.
okay?
They're cool.
It's just camaraderie and intermilitary rivalry. Chill out, okay? But I got a lot of friends who are Pogues, and a lot of friends who are Pogues who are way smarter than me, way more successful.
Oh
than me.
yeah.
But in
Just
the military,
not quite as badass. That's all.
but in the military, basically Pogues were known for, this is the doctrine, this is the discipline, this is how it should be done.
Yeah.
24/7.
You can't
The
be a
infantry-
cowboy.
Yeah, this is how your uniform should be. It should be starched. You should be at this time for formation. Your fucking parade rest should be perfect at this angle. You should be at attention at the proper angle. All this stuff. Everything was perfect. In the infantry, it's not like that. Some would try and make it that way. It's just not like that, okay? We keep
No.
our boot blouses low. That's
Yeah,
just-
low is. Yeah, but there's a reason for that shit.
Yeah, there's a reason why we do the things that we do, because we're actually in the
Yeah.
field. But don't listen. I'm not saying anything bad. All right, it's just
No. God,
But,
no. We don't want to offend anybody on this show.
One of my best friends, I consider him a great friend, is Rodriguez. I got no problem saying his name because he knows I love him. But I'll never forget in Romania. We were doing that hike around the base with like 100 pounds of kit all
Yeah.
on us, packing everything, 50 cows carrying those. And I saw him in one of those forklifts, a heated forklift, right? As I'm walking past
Heated?
him. Yeah, heated. It was nice and warm in there. And I'm walking past them, and I was like, we were all saying, must be nice and warm in there, huh, Rod? He turned around. He goes, don't look at me, motherfucker. Y'all chose the wrong fucking job. Like, don't complain to me like I'm the fault for your problems. Y'all chose the wrong fucking job. Ain't my fucking fault.
Yeah.
Keep on walking. Walk your happy
You
asses
guys
however far
volunteered
you
for
wanna
that
walk.
shit.
And when
Yeah.
he said that, I was like, oh my God, he's right. Like, I
Yeah.
can't.
It's like I could have just
can't.
been doing that the whole time.
I was like,
Why
I'm
am I
just gonna
doing
shut the
this?
fuck up and keep taking the shoelace.
Why is there a
Express forward.
receiver on my shoulder?
Yeah, dude. I was like, what did I do? Maybe I am stupid, but I'm still
I'm an
friends
idiot.
with him to this day. I talk. He's in my Discord. We game together sometimes. But yeah, when I got to college, you know, I was very strict, and even at my first job out, I didn't have a great. I wasn't very liked at my first job. I
Yeah.
didn't understand
Yeah, I
the
understand that. Me
the
neither.
laziness. You know, I didn't understand. I was like in an ambulance, it's very similar to CAT. You check your fucking truck. You make sure your truck's good. You make sure you are prepped to do your job every
Yeah.
single time. You know what I mean? And that's unacceptable if you don't do it any other way. That's how it is out here. And I had to get used to that. You know, I had to get used to being able to look at the people that I worked with, and if I told them to get up and they didn't want to get up and come check the truck, what am I going to do?
That was one of the hardest things for me, was when people would complain about things, right? Where people would kind of complain about the day or what we were doing or anything like that. And you'd be like, man, this isn't hard. Like this, what
Yeah.
you think is a struggle is not you haven't seen struggle.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to carry that mindset with you to the civilian world, because it's kind everything's relative. You know, what they
Yeah.
think is a struggle to
Yeah.
them is a struggle, but it's not.
Yeah.
They haven't gone through what you went through, so it really is hard to kind of like I like to say is like bridging that gap is like, it's really hard to identify with people who are like, man, this day of sweeping floors is really hard, and you're like, man, you're sweeping floors.
Yeah.
I would have killed to sweep floors 2 years ago when I was blah 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 blah. You know, like it's really hard to identify with other people and find commonality in
Yeah.
your daily struggle when
Yeah.
you're so used to, you know, something 120 pounds on your back and a 50 cal receiver or going up a mountain. It's hard to identify with the people that now are your peers.
Yeah.
You have a new set of peers.
Mm-hmm.
It's really it's a really weird way. You almost have to like,
It's hard to
you
explain.
almost have to, yeah. And you almost have to yourself, like, you almost have to weaken yourself to get on their level.
Yeah.
And that may sound kind of harsh, but it's true. You have to
Yeah.
kind of like, to identify with these people, whether it's in
Mhm.
college or in your new job or whatever, you kind of have to bring yourself down a bit. And it sounds kind of vain, but it's true. You have to,
Yeah.
you have to kind of get back on their level.
You do. I 100% agree. And you know, when we say weaken, I would use the same word, but we don't necessarily, like, guys, we don't mean weak. You know what I mean? We're just
No.
saying in our minds, it's very hard to explain. You know what I mean? Like, it's really hard to explain.
Yeah, finding the word for it is hard.
Yeah. Basically, what I say is I just had to chill the fuck out.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? I just had to
I
chill
remember
the
when
fuck out.
the job I got after the Marine Corps, my boss told all the employees that he just hired a former drill instructor or drill sergeant, is what he said. And like, I was never a drill instructor. I never claimed to be one, nor in my interview for the job ever said anything about it. But he knew Marine in my resume and was like, a drill sergeant's coming to work. You guys better shape up. And there was like this expectation of my performance of like, I was going to just snap everybody to work.
He threw you to the wolves already. It's like,
Yeah,
fuck,
and
man,
I was like the
wanted to
nicest guy
relax.
in the world. I was so good. I was like, because I was like, this isn't the military. I can't just scream at people. I was trying to be
Yeah.
nicer. I was like, hey man,
Somebody
It's like-
cuts me in line.
yeah, but like this guy was like, no, he's a drill sergeant. He's gonna beat you up. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing here. I was like a sheep in front of wolves, you know. It's like, but even other people, when they hear your background, they expect you to be a specific thing. They're like, you are the leader, the strong one, and you're just like, man, I'm just trying to chill and just be
Yeah.
normal like y'all. It really is a lot. I feel like the cool thing for me, and I'll speak quickly and let you speak on it. But at Wade's wedding, one of our buddies got married, and it was
That's a
the
great
first time
moment.
I'd seen Ross in a while, our buddy Justin. It was the first time that we'd kind of had some buddies back together in a while. And we just kind of started talking about being out and what it was like and what was going on with us. And it was so relieving to realize that I wasn't the only
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Like-
everyone was having these issues.
Y'all were going through the same exact shit I was going through. And I feel like for this show, at least as far as our interviews are concerned, when I talk to other veterans, like I really want everybody that's in that transition to understand that like what you're thinking and feeling and going through in the transition and the awkward, it's awkward, it's weird, it's hard. It's honest. I've even told them, I was like, the hardest thing I did in the military was get out of the military. The hardest part of the whole job was getting out. Because being in was easy. It was, you do what you're told. This is your job.
Freedom within the system.
Yeah, but it's like freedom outside of the system, and you all you know is the system, and not in a weird tinfoil hat, I'm in the system way, but like
Yeah.
it's like you have this freedom to be whoever you want. And you're like, I don't even know who the fuck I am.
You went from being institutionalized to not.
Dude, I changed my wardrobe 100 times. I didn't even know what to wear. I was like, where do I buy clothes from? I don't know what kind of outfit I want.
Trying to
like,
fit in.
just trying to be like a normal dude. And it really is. And it's not the argument to not go in. It's just to understand that like, when you go to get out, everybody kind of goes through a similar path of like, there is a moment, there's a period of time, whether it's 6 months to 5 years, where you're just like, dude, I don't know what am I doing? Matt likes to say, what am I doing with my hands? And you're like, I really don't know what to do with my hands. I was this guy and now I'm not, and I have to fit into a new role.
It's something
Yeah.
too. The same thing with athletes. You know, like at some point you're not going to be an athlete forever. Like Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah.
But you have to go through it to feel how like.
And that's the same way. Even if you do 20 years and do a full career in the military, at some point it's gonna end, and
Yeah,
you
you
have
know-
to get out.
I'm
Say-
curious to hear that too, because you know Matt was a pro football player.
Yeah.
Okay. I
He's
clung
odd
on.
in Pennsylvania, by the way.
Shut up.
He was a New York Giant, so I'm sure some of y'all are fans up there.
Oh man. Oh shit. I don't got cable. I
he's
don't watch football anymore.
It's about to, let's bust out the helmet.
There we go. There we go. CTE and concussions all day long, baby. That's what we
I'm
got.
in control. I'm in control.
But you know, it's like he could probably relate to this. I clung on to it. I clung on to the military for
Yeah.
a little bit. I clung.
I mean,
on
I'm
to
doing
that
a
for
veteran
credibility.
podcast. It's still a huge part of my identity. I can't
Yeah,
I can't
It-
talk shit about it.
it's hard to it's very hard to let go. I'm at a point right now where I have let go. You know,
Yeah.
I've looked on to other things, and I'm just like I said, for anyone who's getting out, there is something for you to do. You just need
Yeah.
to try new things. You just have to say yes. Just say fucking yes, and understand that you don't have to stay and do anything you don't fucking want to. No matter what boss you have or management, blind loyalty is bullshit. Okay.
Yeah.
And when it comes to working in the civilian world, no one gives a fuck if you were in the military. And if you die, they'll replace you in 2 fucking weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. You look out for number fucking 1. That's it. Look out for yourself and your family, and that's fucking it. Because no one gives. That's one of the brutal truths that I realize. You know, it's like no one really gives a fuck about you,
Yeah.
man. Very few people do that. You really got to look out for yourself. And that's a
Well,
hard thing.
and I think in our society too is that we're in this whole thing of like, well, you need to enjoy your work, you need to love your job, and it's like, no, my job feeds my family. It puts a roof over our heads, and it gives me some extra money to do some fun shit. And if you're looking to satisfy yourself, do some fun shit. Don't
Yeah.
worry about your job. Don't worry. Do what you have to do to provide for the bare minimum,
Mhm.
and then find whatever your passion is. Like, I'm not gonna get paid to go fishing, but if that's what gets your mind through life, go fishing. Figure out what it is. I mean, and that was it was starting a YouTube channel. I love talking about the military. I have mixed emotions about it, but I love veterans. Dude, today I was at Subway with a buddy. We were getting lunch, and this he's easily Vietnam era Marine with his like Marine veteran flat billed hat on, had a trach in and a nurse with him to help him get to Subway that was just helping him walk. And the door, saw him coming at the door, opened the door, held the door, and she said thank you because he literally couldn't speak. And I looked at this dude and I went, Semper Fi. And he put his fist in the air. I mean, this guy was so juiced up about hearing Semper Fi that like he was like pumping his fist in the air, couldn't speak, but he was like so into it. And like, I felt this like, man, we just had Vietnam era versus my era, and we just had this connection. And I was like, man, if there's nothing that you're passionate about, it's just other veterans and like helping dudes navigate the murky waters of what it's like to leave that thing that you're not really passionate about until you leave it. And then you get out and you're like, man, that was cool.
Yeah.
I wish I was still doing that.
Yeah.
And then now I have to figure out what I'm doing now.
Yeah. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
Figuring out what you're going to do now.
One thing that I love talking to Matt and Billy about, as far as veterans is concerned, are the ways to make yourself still feel useful as a part of society with your knowledge and training and expertise. It's the things that you were good at when you were doing when you think you were at your best. Like when I think back to myself at my fittest, my smartest, my most capable, I was like, that was when I was a Marine. And now I'm just this guy. The things that translate over that you can kind of like keep in your back pocket that kind of make you feel like you're still a useful part of society. And the thing for me, the biggest thing was the medical training, and you became a paramedic. And so it's interesting. Were you an EMT before the Marine Corps, if I'm right?
I was an EMT before, and my license lapsed when I was in the
right,
Marine
because
Corps.
you did so long. But the thing is that you learned a lot of trauma medicine in the infantry.
Yeah.
At least as
Oh my
far as
God.
like field trauma, combat trauma, gunshot wounds, all that stuff, and
way more simulations. Yeah.
and translating that. But to go from but from my understanding is that you're not thrilled with your job now, and I can understand it's different in the civilian world, but was it satisfying being able to do something that you felt like was something that was kind of a facet of what you did in the military, but you're doing it as a civilian? Was it kind of something that was like, I love this because of the fact that this makes me feel like I'm still doing what I was doing in the military?
It's so EMS is very, it's kind of similar. It's a love-hate, and but with that, how can I say this? So you'll have a good save every now and then. It doesn't happen often. Usually when people are going to die, they're going to die. There's not much you can do to change it. Okay, you can try, but usually you get there a little too late. They've been down a little too long, or their injuries are too bad.
Yeah.
And basically, you get a good save every now and then, and you drive back from the hospital with a big smile on your face, and you feel really good.
Yeah.
It doesn't
satisfying.
last long. It doesn't last long. Then you go right back to the next patient. next patient who expects top of the line treatment no matter what, even though they've been slowly killing themselves for the past 50 years with their poor habits. And you know, you're underappreciated. And you go back to your management, and luckily I work for a very good agency right now. I work in Monroeville, Pennsylvania, for a volunteer fire department. I'm a full-time paid paramedic there. And they're great management, and I really do appreciate them. But I worked for a very impoverished area for about a little under a year to get my experience as a medic, and I got it. I got a lot. I would have around 15 to 20 calls average a day just on my ambulance, just on mine. We had 2. So our station got about 30 to 40. So it's about 20,000 calls a year, 15 to 20,000. Right now in Monroe, I have 4,000 calls a year. So I get to relax. You know what I mean? When I was down there, you really got to see that, wow, the work that needs to be done is right here at home. You know, it's right here. These people, both my parents are addicts, recovering addicts. You know, I was in and out of NA meetings all my life. You know, I was around drug addiction, and saw a lot of that stuff growing up. So I got a soft spot for that. And of course, in impoverished areas, you know, you see a lot of drug addiction and heroin overdoses and opiate dependency and alcoholism and whatnot. And I have a very strong connection to these people because of who my parents are. And I see them, and it's so hard to try and balance between wanting to help them and being angry with them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's a good percentage of these addicts out there who are good people, who just have a problem, who are struggling to try and get
They're
better.
just stuck into something that they
They're
can't get out of.
struggling. And for anyone at home, please understand how hard these opiates grab you. Okay. And how
And there's a lot of
horrible.
veterans on them too that may have a dependency to things that they didn't even intend on.
Yeah, how horrible the withdrawal is. I mean, withdrawal that makes you feel like you're going to die. And you know, if you take one more bump or you take one more injection, that you're not going to feel this way anymore. It's sad, but at the same time, you know, I remember one of my first calls in this area, and I'm not going to say what area I was working in just for HIPAA and all that, but I had a 8-month pregnant lady, in her 30s, who I responded to a couple months prior to, and I suspected drug use when I went down to see her. She denied it. What do you know? She overdoses. I show up. She's unresponsive on the ground with shallow respiration. She's sweating. She's pale. She's starting to become cyanotic. And I Narcan her. I give her an IV. I give her some Narcan. She comes to.
Is Narcan strictly for fentanyl, or is it for any overdose, heroin and all?
Opiate.
Any opiate?
Overdose.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So a lot of opiates, if you overdose on them, they become central nervous system depressants, and they lower your want to breathe in layman's terms. So basically,
Gotcha.
that's how you die. Okay. Heroin. All right. It lowers your respiratory drive. So you stop breathing after a certain amount of time. If you don't breathe, you don't have oxygen in your blood, you go into cardiac arrest if you're down too long. Luckily, we got her in time. You know, she was with somebody, called the EMS, got there, gave her some Narcan. She came to.
Using nasal Narcan?
Yeah, sometimes I do. If I can get an IV on them, you know, I'll ventilate them. You know, I'll have an EMT ventilate, give them the oxygen, breathe for them, and I'll get the IV in there just to save some time. Just because I'll get the IV in. That's the way it's already there, in case I have to give her Zofran, that stuff. You know, so. She comes to, and I'm talking to her, and I'm saying, honey, you know, I think you should really go to the hospital, because they have a choice when you bring them back. You know, you can't kidnap these people. You know, they have a choice whether or not they can go to the hospital.
Kidnap them.
Yeah, I mean, if I could, there's a lot of people that I would just take to the hospital, but I respect people and their rights, and I don't kidnap people, and hey, you have the choice, so and so. If you can answer all my questions, and you seem to be in reasonable sound mind, you don't have to go to the hospital. I told her, I was like, you should really go to the hospital just for yourself. Narcan is only in your system for about 15 to 30 minutes. Once it wears off, you could overdose again. Okay. And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think, oh, I got Narcan, I'm fine. No, heroin's in your
Really?
system for a lot longer. Okay.
Okay.
Once the Narcan wears off,
So
you can
Narcan is just to get you to the hospital.
Narcan's to bring you back, get you up, get you going to the hospital,
Yeah.
so we can start detoxing you. And she's like, get the fuck out of here, you ruined my high. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I told
Sorry.
her she's pregnant, right? She's 8 months pregnant. And I was like, ma'am, your baby is likely in withdrawal right now because he's got that Narcan too. Okay, or
Right.
she, whatever, your baby's drug dependent because I know you've been using while you've been pregnant. Okay. And now your baby has Narcan, he's in withdrawal, you could lose your baby. I don't give a fuck. Get the fuck out of my home. And that was just that was my first run in with, something that like I don't have a fix for. It was at that moment I was like, you can't save all these people. I can't fix all these problems.
Do you think the Marine Corps prepared for you for that? Just going through the training you went through with, I remember going through training with the Afghan civilians and going through like, I mean, honestly, I always think back to it and what happened with Kabul and going through some of the training we went through with the role players and the natives that were over here and the crowd control. And there are some people that may be transitioning now, or maybe in the thick of like the downside of transitioning out. There's like this existential crisis of like, dude, I don't even know who I am anymore. And like, what is my mission now? Like, you've done some things that I haven't. One, you've gone to school, which I didn't go to school after I got out. So that's a different group of people that you've gone through being around. And then two, you've also done something that was similar in a way to what you were doing in the military. How do you come out on the other side?
I think the Marine Corps gave me the ability to do what I need to do in the simplest way. If I need to help somebody, I can help them. If I need to perform, I can perform. If I need to meet a certain expectation, I can meet it. And if I don't, I'll try again and I'll meet it again. But as far as where I'm at right now, I want to be happy. I want to do what I want to do. I don't want people to dictate what I want to do. And I want to continue to serve my community. When I get out to Utah, I had an amazing experience skydiving. It's something I really fell in love with as soon as I jumped out of the plane. I fell in love with it, dude. I loved it so much. If you told me to go right now, I'd go with you right now. And I already talked to Skydive Utah. And I'm just setting myself up to get my A license. I got 29 more jumps left.
Sweet.
And that's something I want to do.
29 jumps.
Yeah.
You're gonna jump out of a
jumps.
perfectly good airplane 29 more times, no problem.
Yeah, man. And to get tandem certified, it's about 450 jumps. The gentleman I jumped with, he's been jumping for 20 years. He has 35,000 jumps.
35,000 jump. What a sick son of a
35,000
bitch.
jumps. Yeah. And I would love to
man.
I'd love to be that guy, to be like, to just, I've noticed I can calm people down in EMS. Being a paramedic, I'm very good at calming people down, no matter who you are. Doesn't matter if you're a criminal, doesn't matter if you're a victim, doesn't matter if you're having a heart attack or you're having an anxiety attack. I've always been able to calm people down.
Well, being able to do that at the worst day of somebody's life, you could definitely do it during a recreational activity.
Yeah, and that's what I want. That's what I don't want to see people. I think I'll always be a paramedic. I think I'll always practice as one, maybe like once a week or so. But I don't want to do it for 40 years. I don't want to do it for 30. I wouldn't mind showing people a good time, and just letting them know, like, it's like something about skydiving, man. You really have to let go of all control.
Oh, dude, there's a release that happens for sure. There's a release.
You have to let go of all control. If you're someone who really is like, everything needs to be done this way, I have to get it done, and I have to be in charge of it, it's the best thing, because you really, it's the one time where you're like, I'm at the will right now, you know.
But you also get to become technically proficient at something new to
Yeah.
you, where when you start getting your A license and you start working yourself without a tandem,
Yes.
and you're jumping out
Yeah.
of an airplane, you get to learn a new skill, and
Yep.
there's so many nuances to it. And it is like I think that's a big problem, is that like for a lot of veterans, they get out of the military and they don't feel challenged anymore.
Yeah.
They don't feel like you have to overcome something new and put your mind and body through something, and to be able to do something like jumping out of an airplane with
Yeah.
a parachute.
And not
It's
only
like
that,
it's this
yeah.
whole new challenge in itself.
Yeah, man. I mean, when I get out there, you know, when you guys, I wish you had social media. That you're the one person I do wish I had.
Dude, at the
Social
Fully
media.
Vetted show, it's my social media. Follow me.
I
Come
will.
on.
I will. I'll follow you. But you know, over the next few months, I want you like look out. And I'm telling everybody this. You know, I'm gonna do some shit when I get out to Utah. I'm gonna climb. I'm gonna fucking. I want to get into mountaineering heavily. I really
Yeah.
love climbing. I'm not a technical climber, but I love climbing mountains. I like summiting, and I like being outdoors. I want to skydive. I want to get proficient in that. Like you said, it is most definitely a skill. And when I get out there, you know, I'm gonna be recording a bunch of it and putting it out there, and you know, showing people, because you know, a lot of times in my life, man. And here's another thing, man. If anyone ever tells you you can't fucking do something, let them. Let them, man. It's fucking fuel. Okay. A lot of people told me that I couldn't do this right here. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people
Yeah.
told me that I wouldn't be able to get through the fucking Marine Corps. A lot of people told me that I wouldn't be sticking around in jiu-jitsu. A lot of people told me I'd never leave Pennsylvania. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Fuck them. You can do whatever the fuck you want. That dude, Matt Dodge, professional football player. I'm sure some people looked at him and said he couldn't fucking do it at some point. I'm sure some people looked at you and said you couldn't do a lot of things that you've already done. And
I was out of shape when I joined the Marine Corps, dude. I
Yeah.
couldn't even do the amount of sit-ups to get me to boot camp. It's just, I feel like that's what kind of separates you from the rest of society, which makes it so hard to identify, is that most of the people have overcome something that made them better. And I feel like that's what really you should identify with when you leave the military, no matter what branch you're in, is that you have to realize that at least in your mind, you're a different human being.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out what that next calling is, and become savagely the best at it.
Yeah.
And do whatever it takes to become. I mean, when you went into jujitsu, that's a great example of something where you're actually given a rank, you're given a white belt, and now you're a private, and you have to work your way through these ranks. And if you want the next rank, you actually have to work for it. Something like that is great for veterans, where
Yeah.
the same structure, but at least you're going through something where you're putting yourself through another test. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, they get into this mundane life and they just kind of, they lack that sense of accomplishment because they've overcome a new challenge, because they're just doing their regular 9-to-5 job.
Yep.
And it kills you. It
Yeah.
absolutely kills you.
Yeah,
Especially
and-
when you're doing it for something you're not passionate about. It just kills you.
Yeah. Don't worry about other fucking people. It's one thing I'm happy as I get older. I'm starting to realize I care less and less about what other fucking
Yeah.
people think.
Yeah.
Like,
Age
I
and
don't
wisdom
fucking-
becomes great.
Yeah, I don't care. I'll go do things by myself. If you're holding me back, good. I wish you the best. I'm gonna go do my own thing. You know, just take care of yourself.
What's
I
that,
love
Billy?
that tremendously because I'm hitting the age. I'll be 50 this year. And-
Billy's about to be 50.
He don't look it.
He's old, but not over the hill. We know
I
that.
get it all the time. Like, why would you start a YouTube channel? Why would you do this? You can't do this. I'm like, look, don't tell me what the fuck I can. Or can't.
Yeah, fuck
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
I
Have
feel
you?
like
It's
I've mellowed in my older age, but I'm in phase 2.
Yeah. But the same person. Have you carried a 50 cal up mountain? Have you put
Yeah.
100 pounds on your back and walked
I
20
can't-
miles? Have you?
I can't relate.
There's a
can't
mindset that veterans carry with them. And that's something that I really am passionate about with what you did with being a paramedic, because one thing that has become something that, like, as far as translating my skills and being able as a veteran, translating the skills that you had then to what you do now, is that in my field, I mean, I was just watching the other day, we had to have some dudes cut some trees down for work. And I was like, man, if that dude's chainsaw slips, he's going to hit an artery and bleed out in 60 seconds. And I was like, guess
Yeah.
what? If that happens, thank God I'm here.
Yeah,
Because I remember what I was.
Joke.
And yeah, but you have to
It's-
find out what skills carry with you that you can translate as a civilian to, like, carry. If you have medical training, carry a trauma kit. If you have, you know, if you're, I mean, with the amount of the, you know, shootings that happen in this country, and if you have training tactically, carry
Yeah.
carry your weapon with you, because you're an asset to your community as what you are. And you may hate your job, but you have
Yep.
other skills that you can keep as your identity that can translate to the future, that, like, whether you use them or not, you hold those things dear to yourself, and you need to make sure that you hold on to the good parts of who you were and translate that to your new life, whether it's protecting your family when you're at Walmart or watching out for people while they're swimming at the beach. We've got
Yeah.
swim training. I mean, as Marines, you're amphibious. So, like, you're confident in the water. If somebody's drowning at the beach, like, I'm diving in the water, I'm getting them. Like, these are the things that you need to be able to carry with you to make you feel relevant in the community.
To back you up on that, I just want to tell everybody, the first responder is the person who makes the phone call. Okay. You are the first responder. If you're,
Yeah,
if you're there
Sure.
and you see it and you make the phone call,
Yeah, you're the one that's
you.
there.
you're
Yeah.
right there. If you learn how to do CPR, you do not understand the effect that you can have. If
Yeah.
someone goes into cardiac arrest right in front of you, and it happens more times than you think, and you're able to get on their chest and start pumping their heart for them, you have substantially increased their ability to live. By
Yeah.
the time that I get there and I'm able to do what I have to do, it's you. You're the one who made that happen. But if
I heard a paramedic say that they had never seen somebody withstand cardiac arrest that didn't receive intervention before paramedics came.
Yeah.
They had
Yeah, that
never seen
happens.
somebody that didn't receive CPR prior that actually made it to tier 1 care, to actually go to, like, once they got to the hospital, that they had at least been receiving chest palpitation. They had at least
Yep.
been receiving some kind of compression.
Yeah, and it's very simple. It's very basic stuff, guys. This isn't
Yeah.
hard. It's not
I
hard
mean,
to do.
these
I
are
know it-
courses that, like, most communities offer.
Yeah.
You can go to that course 30 minutes on a Sunday and you know how to save a life.
I highly recommend. I'm a Stop the Bleed instructor. I highly recommend Stop the Bleed. I highly recommend going to a CPR course, because, I mean, guys, this is the change needs to be made at home. We have
Yeah.
to help each other right now. That's at least from what I can see. I don't have the answers for the big fucking problems. I got the answers for the little ones right now. Get
Well, like what
trained,
you
get
hit on
certified.
is perfect. You are and we're actually, one thing I talked to Matt and Billy about was our next episode, I really want to do it because of what's the climate in the world and what's happening with all these situations, is I want to do a Stop the Bleed show where we can have all of our viewers just understand the basics of at least a tourniquet, because it's something that's lightweight, you can carry with you. It's such a simple tool that you
Yeah.
can use. It's easier than using a hammer. You don't even need to hit the
Yeah.
nail on the head. You just need to get a tourniquet on a limb. And I think that's something that a lot of veterans that have medical training,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, that's something that you can identify with when you leave.
Yeah.
That's the thing. How many times have you rolled up on an accident and there's no cops, no fire, no EMS there? You just walked by an accident, but it's like, yeah, most of the time it's
Yeah.
mundane and nothing happened. But what would happen if you drove by an accident and something was really wrong? What would you
Yeah.
do?
Well, what's funny is cops aren't medical. All right. A lot of them are
Right.
trained. They have basic medical training, but I'm telling you,
Basic training.
that's not what they're there for. And you have to have the will to get in and stop bleeding. Just like you have to have the will to go through a threshold where there's guys with barrels on the other end. You have to have the
Yeah.
will to do that. And cops, they're not medical professionals. They're not. Some might be, but they're not. And just because you're bleeding out in front of a cop, don't expect the cop to go outside his scope and try and save your life. That's not what they do. Okay. When it comes to medicine. Now, that being said, some of them might be able to do that. However, be your own first responder, guys. That's really all I can say. You can make a huge difference, man. I mean, I've gotten on scene with shootings and stabbings to where bleeding could have been stopped easily. You don't need a tourniquet. There's plenty of other ways to improvise a tourniquet if you do not have one. All
Yeah,
right.
but how many times have you heard the stories of like, Army veteran saves life by blah, 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 because he did this, or Marine veteran. And the thing is that, one of the big crises that you have as somebody transitioning out of the military is you might have this problem with, how do I fit into society? And there are so many skills, whether it's leadership or your medical training or your tactical training or whatever your job was in the military, that if you're having an issue with how do I fit into this new role in the world, whether you're passionate about the military or not, taking those skills to your civilian life and finding a way to apply them is at least a way to mitigate some of your identity crisis with the world. You're just finding a way. Yes, I have to be this different guy, but I offer a skill set to my community and to my coworkers and to my family that I learned when I was doing this one job that I love and I want to talk about. And if you don't want to hear about it, that's fine. If you don't want to know all the details, it's cool. But this is why I am the way that I am. And I think a lot of people try to fit in without being like, look, this is how I am. And if you don't like that I'm 30 minutes early to everything and I expect the best out of everybody and I have all these different, if you can't just have people accept that who you are and you just try to conform to this new thing, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah.
You have to be allowed to be who you are.
You have purpose. The skills that you have when you get out of the military, you can apply them in a lot of different ways. And when you have to apply them, usually it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal when you have to apply them. It's
an important skill set.
Yeah. The skill set that you have, not many people have it. And in the event that you need to intervene and someone's life might be at risk, you might be able to actually be the change there, so you do have purpose, and there's lots of, and not only that, but you have purpose amongst your peers at your job to make them understand that, like, listen, things are going to be okay. I have people at work with in EMS, people think you can't make a mistake, and people in EMS are afraid to make mistakes. They're afraid to look like they don't know everything. God forbid you don't know everything, right? Fuck,
right.
And when someone makes a mistake in EMS, like I have an EMT I work with, and she made a mistake in the back of an ambulance. She goes, "I swear to God, I know how to do this." I was like, I know, it's okay, I fuck up too. I know you know how to do it. The average human being makes, I think, 4 to 6 errors every hour. And that's without sleep fatigue. That's without stress. That's without
running 20 calls.
Without running 20 calls. That's without, having to worry about 20 different employees that you're a project manager for or something like that. That's without all the bullshit, okay? You're human and you're going to fucking make mistakes. It's okay. All right. You can be a leader for your peers. A lot of the people don't understand the mindset that we have getting out of the military. But we can use it in a very positive way. Yeah. You just have to adapt. Things are going to get better. Like right now, like what are we 3 years out?
Yeah.
3
almost.
Holy shit. Yeah, no, literally.
Better hope a war doesn't pop off because we're still in the IRR. So we can still get called back.
I had a muster recently, my first ever muster for the IRR. I had that. Yeah. Yeah. That was the first one I had. And I had that fucking muster, and oh my God.
I've been like, dude, I'm ready to, I was signing up for a lot of wars, but I don't know if I want to,
they were trying
in this one yet.
They were trying hard, man. They were trying hard to get you to reenlist and whatnot. And
dude,
they were
so hard that they willing to start a war.
Yeah, I got people messaging me like, dude, you're a paramedic. Why don't you go to Ukraine? I'm good.
It's because I don't.
I'm fucking good.
Dying in America, dude.
Yeah, like I got shit I could be doing here. Plus, like, I'm good. Like there's
if
a
you want me
lot
to
of,
post up in front of a school, I'll do it pro bono. Like I don't need to be
That's
out of
the
this
thing.
country.
like I tell people, all the time, like, dude, there's bad shit happening all over the world and shit's not being covered. And you know, another thing, man, like recently we had that school shooting in Texas. It's absolutely fucking horrible. You know how many shootings you have in your local area that aren't covered by the news?
Oh yeah.
You know how many kids I responded to that were subject to stray rounds or direct rounds at them?
Yeah.
Didn't make it by the time I got on scene DOA, and they ain't in the news.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're under 18. They ain't in the news. This bad shit. If you guys want to know about what's going on in your area, go get where's this fucking thing at? Come here, you son of a bitch. Go get one of these fucking Bofang radios.
Yeah, the Baofeng, man.
And get your fucking I have a legitimate radio, but I got this when I got out. Go get your Bofang radio. Listen to the emergency dispatch. All right, which should be all public. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure
yeah.
it is all public. You
Just
get,
don't
listen
key
to-
it.
Yeah, don't key in. But listen to emergency dispatch and just listen to how much bad shit's happening in your 10-mile radius. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a good fucking bit, so the news can really fucking blow things up, man. I'm not saying about the school shooting, that's really fucking horrible. I'm just saying the
Yeah.
news in general can really fucking blow things up and make you.
Well, that's
Cool.
the thing, is that I feel like one of the things that I, just to kind of put a bow on it, one of the things that what helped me the most with transitioning out was realizing that I'm a part of my community, and I can't help what's happening in the world, and I can't help what's happening in the country, but I can damn sure help what's happening in my community. And
Yeah.
whether that's with being my own first responder, even a first responder for those in my community, or somebody that just protects other lives. I told Matt and Billy, the thing that I love the most is the idea of preserving freedom and preserving life.
Yeah.
And if that, as a veteran and as somebody that served in the military, that's what you signed up for to begin with. And no matter how much you hate your 9 to 5, and no matter how many shitty things happen at home with your family, as a human being, as your person, as yourself, you can identify with the fact that you have skills that can translate to helping your community, or whether they know it or not. Like you may never have to use them, but you can at least feel satisfied in yourself knowing that you've carried on the skills that you learned then to your life now, and you can apply them in ways to better your actual local community, not the world. Because in the military, you think of like, I'm going to go fight these, overseas wars. I'm going to save the world. I'm Captain America. But when you get out, you realize that, like, I just live in this one town, and this is all I got. Like, I'm not going to save the country. I'm not going to save the world.
Yeah.
But I have to be a benefit to my community.
Mhm,
And I
agree.
think that's something, at least it helped me, was just to understand that, like, there's skills that you have that do translate. And then finding the hobbies on the side of that to help yourself mentally just kind of get through the day to grind, the day to day, just your average life.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. And when a lot of the times these people you save, these people you take care of, they might come to you and they might not be very appreciative. That's okay. I'm going to get back to that bigger picture thing. That might be someone's father. That might be someone's brother, sister, mother you just saved. And that person is going to be appreciative because they're still around. It
Yeah.
has a domino effect. You may not see it directly, but the little actions you make have that, what's it called when you drop something in a puddle and it fucking goes all over.
A ripple effect.
It has that
Yeah.
ripple effect, right?
Yeah.
So it has that ripple effect. Everything you do, every decision you make, you're affecting other people. So
Well, that's the thing about it. They call it military service, and everyone says thank you for your service, but it is like, when you get out and you transition to being a civilian again, is you just finding ways to serve. It was your calling. It was the thing you were most passionate about, and serving others, even if it's just that dollar donation they ask for when you check out at Subway for the Children's Hospital. It's just finding ways to feel better about life because of the things that you can do to help others. That was what you signed up for, and that was why you did what you did. And that was what drove you to go through the bullshit you went through, was in service to others, for God and country, right? And so you're finding a way to just help the people around you, even if it's just stupid and small, is huge.
Speaking of that, there was a time when you were a first responder for me. And I don't know if you remember this.
I do remember this.
But
when you slipped in an oyster bed and we were fishing together. Yeah. You slipped in an oyster bed. Dude, this is why I want to do Stop the Bleed. Is like we live in a fishing town. You don't understand. On an oyster bed, if you go to break your fall in an oyster bed and you cut your radial artery, you are done.
God, dude, I'm happy that I just slipped. I didn't fucking.
So what happened?
Fall
We'll close on this. Give me all my glory. What happened?
So we were fishing. Was it off Onslow? Where were we at?
Onslow Beach on the intercoastal side.
Yeah, we were at Onslow Beach on the intercoastal side, and we were fishing. And I was not a fisherman. I was just learning. You were teaching me. And you're on the phone with Lauren.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to cast out. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
I just remember hearing, Jordy, there's a problem.
Yeah, and you're like, and I'm sitting there and I fucking slip. And when I slip, I felt this fucking sting, and I look down and I see this nice little murky jaws like fucking blood coming up out of there. And basically the water's, cleaning everything out as I'm looking at this open cut, and I'm seeing down to the fucking tendon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've never seen a cut that deep.
It was so deep. It was like, so you have the fucking, God, it was like the subcutaneous layer of fat, which is like the lowest layer of skin. And I could see my fat, knowing what I know
it's like
now.
Close to bone.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh fuck. And I'm looking at you. I'm like, Jordan. I'm like, Jordan. You're like, huh? And you're talking to Lauren. I'm like, Jordan. You're like, what? I'm like, I think I cut myself. You're like, honey, I gotta go. I think Ross fucked himself up. Give me a second. So we hang up and we get on the grass, and I'm looking and I'm like, oh my God, this is a big fucking cut. It was like a 5-inch laceration, right?
It was so deep it was barely bleeding. That's how deep it was. It was like it wasn't even bleeding yet.
Yeah, luckily, there was no serious bleeding. It wasn't even venous bleeding. It wasn't arterial. It was just capillary bleeding. But guess what he did? He got a fucking dressing, he got a pressure bandage, and he fucking put it on there. Was it necessary? Looking back, probably not.
Maybe
I probably
not.
could have just sat there and held it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, probably.
But at the same time, you know how long it took for that to happen? Less than a minute.
Yeah.
It took less than a fucking minute. And I'll tell you what, people bleed out quicker than that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and he's never, he hasn't done that in real life. I think that was probably the first real life.
That was probably the first time I'd ever applied a real deal pressure dressing. I feel like the nurse was probably like, who did that? What like, this is fairly legit.
And then the lidocaine injections they gave me, and I was fucking sitting there.
I held your hand,
painful.
man. I love you, dude.
I hate lidocaine. They put lidocaine in this fucking thing right here, dude. When they went to go, I call this thing Fred right here. They went to get Fred out of my forehead. They're like, the lady's like, I'm going to give you some lidocaine now. She's like Russian. I'm like, she can't be trusted. No, I'm just kidding. But what basically, she's like, I'm going to give you the lidocaine, and then I'm going to lance you. I'm going to lance you.
You probably had some PTSD from the leg laceration.
Yeah. You know what? On your next podcast, you know what you should do? You should go over that German soldier who showed you around the base in Latvia. I think it was.
Oh, with the pizza oven. That was not really a pizza oven. Yeah, buddy. 500 degrees, perfect for cookings of the pizzas.
Oh my God, dude! It was. When I heard that story, I could not stop cracking up.
Well, I'm glad you brought up my medical prowess, because our next episode is probably going to be some medical work. So I may have to consult you prior just to make sure that I'm still on point with my with my medical knowledge.
Yeah, no problem.
Dude, it was awesome talking to you, dude. Is this even just good to see you, man? And that's another big thing. If I can just have one caveat before we close, is just talking to your buddies, man. It's awesome. It really does. It makes everything better.
You pick right back up where you left off every time.
Yeah, man,
Every time. Yeah.
for sure. Dude, I wish you all the best with moving. I hope Utah's awesome. You're going to have, I mean, the amount of public land out there, you can shoot wherever you want, climb
Oh,
mountains.
yeah.
It's going to be great, dude.
Oh,
I hope
yeah.
you and Courtney have a great time. And dude, all the best, really. I hope everything's great.
You and Lauren and little Jameson always got a home. If you
Yeah,
ever want
man.
to come out and visit, you always got a
Well,
place
my
to
sister's in
stay.
Colorado, so if we visit her in Colorado, we'll jump over to Utah, no problem.
And then we'll really jump from up there.
I'll go, dude. I'll jump with you. Let's do it. We'll jump. Lauren's been skydiving 3 times I've ever been. So if anyone will jump, it's Lauren, but I'll jump.
We could all do it together. It'd be great.
Yeah, I'm down. Look, honestly, I'd rather do it when you get your tandem license. I'll jump if I'm attached to you. I'll be good.
Oh my God. I'd be so, dude.
I'll be
so
your
excited.
first tandem. If you want to do it, when you get your tandem license, you call me. I'll go to Colorado, drive down to Utah. We'll jump together. We'll film.
Oh my God. I'll strap you to my crotch. We'll hop right out of that plane,
Dude,
man. You
it's
and me,
not
man.
the first time I've been
You and
strapped to
me.
your crotch. Dude.
Yep, man. Oh, I'd be fucking pumped to do that. Yeah, we got to set up
Sweet, dude.
time.
Well, I appreciate you being on here and opening up and just talking about all this stuff. I really do hope it helps some other veterans.
Yeah, me too, man. You know, like I said, not perfect. You guys are gonna make a ton of mistakes.
Yeah.
Mistakes really don't define you, man. Just keep doing what you can for others. That's all
Yeah,
that
man.
matters.
Find a new mission.
All right, buddy. I appreciate you, man. Love you. Miss
Yeah,
you.
man. Love you too, man. All righty, buddy. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I appreciate you making it all the way through the video. I had a great conversation with Ross. He's been through so much and has a world of knowledge and a lot of information for veterans getting out and transitioning. He's gone through a lot. And it was really good to hear his side of the story and some of the things he went through from his perspective. If you want to follow at the Fully Vetted Show on Instagram, I have a bunch of actual new content coming out that'll be interesting to watch on Instagram. And we have some interesting, me and Billy and Matt are going to sit down and do another version of some other shows. And I want to teach them some new military stuff. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, we'll see you around.